Most people think you either have to adopt or conceive a baby to become legally responsible for a child. Under Michigan law, that is simply not how it works.
I was the father by default.
These 4 men came to the 7 Action News studios to raise awareness. You could become dad by default. There are a couple ways it happens. Pastor Edward Mack says his previous wife had 3 children. He loved them as his own. Then he realized 2 of them were not biologically his.
You must have been so heartbroken.
Damn, it was a hurting thing. I don't even really want to talk about it because it brings tears to my eyes. Sorry for getting teary-eyed.
Pastor Mack says the betrayal led to divorce. He was shocked when the judge told him because he was married, he became dad by default. He had to pay support for another man's children.
Let her pay for him. Let her get the man she laid down with to pay for him. He goes free.
I never even slept with her. I got a lawsuit when I was young, and she basically just said, that's the money I'm gonna get, and she got it.
Reginald Whitlow, Anthony Sims, and Carnell Alexander have similar stories. They say women named them out of nowhere. In 2014, 7 Action News told Carnell's story and found the mother. She said she was told in order to get welfare benefits, she needed to name a father. She knew he wasn't the dad, but wrote down his name anyway.
Everything is my fault that I put him through.
Do you think that he should have to pay this money?
No, he shouldn't have to pay it at all.
I like how she said that, and I know for a fact she still took the money.
She took the money. She said, he didn't have to pay it all, but if money there, the money there, and I'm going to take it.
Because there's no way, if he was getting those checks returned to him every time it was sent to you, he wouldn't be out here complaining. So you definitely kept that money.
Yeah.
Then these men missed paternity hearings because they were either sick or did not receive notice. Carnell had proof. He was in prison when a process server claimed he was served at a house in Highland Park. When they didn't show up at court, a judge ruled them dads by default. They then missed their chance to challenge it with DNA evidence by the court deadline because they couldn't find the women and children.
They wouldn't give me her address because it was confidential.
These men all eventually got DNA tests backing their stories.
So you want them to get DNA tests, but if they don't know the children or the mothers and they don't know where they live, how are they supposed to get the DNA test?
Too late.
Oftentimes it does make a difference.
Representative Jim Runstead says those DNA tests should make a difference. The Republican from White Lake says he heard the story of Carnell Alexander on 7 Action News and decided to take action. He says this year he hopes to pass legislation that would protect men from being forced to pay for another man's children.
From the research I've done, I don't know if that law's been passed through, but I couldn't find anything on it being passed. So that's very telling.
So people that are for equality, what? Huh? Nothing.
That's a good point. But I want to show you something else.
Over the years, Edward Bowdery had his driver's license stripped and once even found himself in handcuffs over child support payments for a child that's not his.
I would hate to see somebody else go through the same thing. I've been going through this. I mean, headaches.
This mound of paperwork shows a juvenile court judge ordered him to pay child support even before the birth.
This nigga's paying fetus support. What?
For not his fetus.
Nigga, what's next? Ovary support?
Well, technically, it's called a date.
Is it?
I mean, we paying.
You on fire today?
Oh, guns blazing. Pa pa.
Seems that Lizzo really inspired you.
Hey, spread them cheeks, Lizzo.
I didn't do a voluntary acknowledgement. I didn't sign the birth certificate. All I knew is we legitimated the child in your name.
Bowdery asked several judges during several hearings for a DNA test, but no judge ordered one.
I said, how did I even get put on child support? And I never said this was my child. And they said, again, this is not what we're here for.
Wow. That's not what we're here for. We just here for your money. Ugh.
Let's carry on.
He'd supported for years was not biologically his. He took the documentation to court. The judge wouldn't accept it, but ordered a new DNA test done that showed the same results. Probability of paternity, 0%.
Isn't that one of the few times in life where you want to see a 0% on a piece of paper?
Yeah. It's funny how the law is supposed to work like without reasonable doubt. And now you have none and you're like, yeah, nah, fuck it. So it's still you. It doesn't matter.
Crazy. But yeah.
It's crazy.
They never did do what they were originally supposed to do, which was give me the opportunity to take a DNA test. I was just a voice not being heard. So I guess I needed a choir.
Juvenile Court Magistrate Nancy Kessler agreed in October to allow Bowery to disestablish paternity, but only after, he says, she admonished him for taking it this far.
The judge stated that, well, I find it very distasteful that you're bastardizing a child.
That was the line that set me off. I need a second. So,
Nigga, what? You know what kills me? Is that people always say like, yeah, but the law said that. Sometimes the law is fucked up. You're bastardizing a child. It's not mine.
you know who bastardized that child? The man who slept with her, who's actually the father.
Maybe he don't know. Maybe he doesn't even know.
Okay, well, you know what? Listen, here's the thing. There's clear biases in family court and divorce law settlements, okay? This stuff is very well documented. It's very well admitted. Even by most feminist websites, they will admit to this. But remember that men's rights versus feminists conversation that they had on Jubilee where the feminists said, well, there's plenty of organizations that are advocating for this. Well, boo-boo, I did my searching. I did not find one.
Okay, listen now, but I know you came here with your little researches and shit. Stop, man.
So I was like, maybe I'm wrong. So I looked, nothing. But I did find one article from Everyday Feminism. Do you remember Everyday Feminism?
No.
Riley J. Dennis? In partnership with...
Yeah,
so they had an article and they said the truth about father and bias in family courts. So I decided to research this topic, every intention of creating a piece about how institutionalized sexism in the legal system affects men too. But the results of my research were surprising to say the least. It's true that mothers are more likely to receive custody of their children in a divorce, but the source of the bias is not in the courts, it's in the marriage. The institution of straight marriage perpetuates patriarchal gender roles during a marriage as well as during its complement, divorce. The same unfair assumptions that undermine the tradition of straight marriages are the ones that mar their divorces. Statistically, it appears that family courts in the United States are biased against fathers. For example, 83% of mothers receive custody of their children in divorces. Additionally, men are awarded less support on average than mothers who are awarded support. There is also plenty of anecdotal evidence citing situations where mothers were awarded custody in spite of fathers demonstrating interest and potential to provide and care for their children. Even if the courts are biased, they are not biased because they dislike men. They are biased because they are reflecting the patriarchal notion that men are not meant to be caregivers and that women are not meant to be breadwinners.
Still, the people that are suffering is men. So...
And you know what I liked about this? It just seems to absolve women of all responsibility in this. It's like saying because the system's in place and now women are benefiting from it, or women are ones who are engaging in it.
It's not women's fault.
That would be like me saying that because white people, really started the slave trade here in North America specifically, that if black people today were to own slaves, we have no culpability because white people created the system out here in the first place. No, if I choose to own slaves today, I'm still a piece of shit. The same way, if you are using the advantages of family court to your benefit as a woman, you are engaging in the practices that disadvantage men.
I.e. a piece of shit.
That is what it is. Nobody's telling these women to use their advantages and their influence in the family court system, but they are willfully engaging in it. They are willfully taking more money from men than they should be allowed to. So you are participating in the system that you pretend you have nothing to do with.
Patriarchy.
You know what I love about these discussions? This is why I hate talking to super woke people. Every time you bring up anything, everything is a result of...
Everything is just patriarchy. Sometimes it's you.
It's just a way for a lot of people to not accept any responsibility.
It's not me, it's them.
Here's a second point. They demonize women. Of course, women are always a victim. Even in family courts where they're clearly advantaged, it's always about how women are bad. Some say nasty, even abusive mothers manipulate the laws that are already in place in their favor in order to keep their children away from their fathers. They call this malicious mother syndrome. Is there some basis for these stereotypes? Unfortunately, yes. So how
The co-founder.
Saying that all the mothers or most of the mothers who file for divorce want to keep their children from their fathers out of spite with utter disregard for their children's best interests in relationships is unfair and unfounded.
Who said that? Who said that?
It's a straw man. In fact, the majority of custody settlements, even those that favor the mother, are reached by mutual agreements outside the courtroom. Why do you think that is? It's because the man knows he's not going to win in court.
And I ain't going to dash out a bunch of cash I don't have to try to not win something.
That's why they're not fighting. They prefer to sell it because it saves them money in a losing effort.
I'm going to have to, hey, whoa,
Third point, they value fathers' rights over children's rights. The greatest issue with some of these fathers' rights organizations is that they put personal rights and interests over the rights of the children. There are extenuating circumstances when mothers are not suited to be in the children's lives, but more often than not, the children benefit from having both their mother and their father in the picture. Unfortunately, often these organizations offer methods to minimize child support. That sort of greed has a direct effect on the child's lives of children. Yeah, the reason why they want to minimize child support is oftentimes it's because it's not logical how much it is. A lot of child support is far too elevated.
This is very biased.
Okay, I don't want to read too much of this because I'm just going to go crazy. Feminist organizations don't truly advocate for men's issues. And that's why I say I understand why there is a need for men's rights activists. Because there are problems that are mostly directed at men. And it makes sense to have a movement that recognizes and wants to address those problems specifically. But what do the feminist movements do? They just blame men for their own problems. We don't need your help because you can't help us. And you don't seem interested in it at all.
You don't want. Because it's not about, at the end of the day, it's not really about equality. And it's just a small percentage of you that are for equality. This is not about equality. It's equal. It's going to be equality when it benefits you, and when it doesn't, it's not going to be equal no more, and you're not going to fight for it. Which I understand, and that's why there's the opposite. There's the opposition, right? That's the reason why.
So I just wanted to bring this up to say, feminists can say whatever they want about how feminists advocates for men too.
You don't, and it's fine, and it's actually fine. But when someone's going to advocate for men, you can't be mad about that.
That's it. So that's all I really wanted to get into. We want to know your thoughts. Leave your comments below. Boom.